Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Corey Masters. I'm your Customer Success Manager for Lasso at ECI, and I will be your host today. Basically, think of me as your Lasso person. I'm just here to make sure you get the most value out of our software. So think of me as your resource to everything Lasso. Today's webinar is called Crash Course in Customer Experience by the amazing Leah Fellows. She's a national online sales counselor trainer with Blue Gypsy Inc. And I know you're all super excited to hear from her, but let's go through a few logistics first before we get started. Today, everyone will be muted, but Leah has asked that if you have questions, please type them on the question box or in the chat, and I'll make sure to let her know if there's a question in real time so we can get them answered, okay? After the webinar today, you will receive a copy of it because it's recorded. You'll also receive a survey link, and we definitely ask you that you fill that out. It definitely helps us get as much information about what you want to hear, how you want to hear it, who you want to hear it from. So definitely let us know. And as we're waiting for a couple of more people to join us, make sure everyone has time to come in. I just want to tell you a little bit about ECI. We are ECI Software Solutions, and we provide integrated cloud-based management solutions across 4 different industries. In our residential home construction division, we have 6 different integrated software solutions to serve our builders. We have Lasso, our CRM, Mark Systems, our ERP and construction management tool, LotView, an amazing interactive sitemap tool, InSearch, our interactive design center, build tools for custom builders and remodelers, and we also have Bolt, a management tool designed for trade contractors. One of our main goals at ECI is to help small and medium-sized businesses compete and grow, and we do that through our products and also by sharing best practices by providing education to the industry, like this webinar. I would love for you to share this when you're done and you get the recording. I used to do that. I used to just sit down, eat my lunch, and then watch the webinar from the day before. And I love doing that. So please share this with anyone that you think this might be helpful to. And I think we might just be ready to get started. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. My name is Corey Masters. And Leah, the floor is all yours.
Great, thank you so much, Corey. It's so good to see you, even though I technically can't see anything because I have all my slides up on the screen. For anyone that knows me, you probably know a little bit about Blue Gypsy Inc., but I am a online sales counselor training company. And today's crash course in customer experience will be very, very much focused around online leads, but I do want to know who's in the room because I've done this presentation before live. Obviously, this is live, but in webinar format. And I always like to know who is actually here. So please go ahead and chat out like what your role is with the company, because I do try to gear this in a direction where whether you have online sales counselors or you don't have online sales counselors, we're all important in that customer experience. So while we're going to be talking about a crash course, we don't want to end up like these cars. The goal is to avoid wrecks. So go ahead and chat that out and let us know who you are. And in a minute or two, we'll take a look and see if we've got any actual responses or if you guys are still drinking your morning coffee. So why are we talking about customer experience? Why are we talking about this?
It looks like we have a couple people we have a lot of online sales counselors. We have a sales and marketing project coordinator, Heather. We have Nicole with Oak Creek Homes and another OSC. We have a realtor. We have a very diverse group today.
Great, and I know there's over 100+ people who are registered for this, so odds are we're going to have a lot of different people from wearing different hats in the companies. So we will talk about some of that, okay? And one of the reasons I want to talk about customer experience is because I know, especially currently, we're hearing so much about automation, AI, digital tools, which are so important. right? But none of these are a substitute for human engagement. And we're going to need to figure out how we can incorporate all the things that can help us be better at our customer experience and still provide that hands-on personal touch. I want to make sure that by the end of this, we understand it's so important to have a human behind the machine, and humans who can express empathy, complex thinking, and can understand what that buyer wants and what the why is behind the why, because that's going to be so important. And a lot of times, at least at this phase in the game, AI isn't going to be able to do that. And look, I see people break chatbots all the time. So just maybe a little bit about how we've gotten here. And yes, sometimes we fly to these events and we're actually literally talking about getting here. But today I want to take a minute to kind of go back a little bit in time, because when I started out in the role of online sales counselor back in 2007, so nearly 18 years ago, at the time we had a lot less automation. We had a lot more that needed to really be about customer service. And nowadays, I feel like that this is something that really is lacking when people call in. You know, they fill out a questionnaire, and we're not as well equipped to really help people out. I could tell you a million stories about my own customer service experiences where I'm like pulling my hair out like this woman or crying like a baby. And in the building industry, with the largest purchase we're helping people make, it's so important that we create a cohesive relationship with our buyers and help them move along their journey and move along their path. We don't want them pulling their hair out. I'm not going to get into long-winded stories because we have so much ground to cover, but I am going to get into my 3 promises I have for you today. In this webinar, I want to talk about building trust with your buyers, some insights into what your buyers want and how we can give them what they want and give them the information they need so that we can create a high-level experience. One your grandma would be proud of. Okay, I know, you know, time and again, but we really have to get back to how do we nurture people? How do we create a great experience? Because that's what's going to differentiate us from our competitors. So these are the 3 areas I'm going to cover, and these objectives, normally, like I said, I'd ask who's in the room so I can get a feel for whether or not we have online people, on-site people, marketers, VPs. I'm sure from what Corey's already told us that we're seeing a lot of people here. And so the things I want to talk about can apply to the online sales counselor, your overall company, and it can be utilized even by on-site sales. But as we're building trust, it actually starts before we ever engage with the buyer. It starts with our company culture. It starts with our brand identity and who we are and how we are, not only externally with our customers, but internally. And then once we have that dialed in and we take those values that our company has, that's where website creation comes into play. And so I really want to kind of talk more about this promise of trust. Building trust begins, as I said, with that. And once you can translate those values from your company, your culture, it can translate into this website. And this is where we're going to focus a little bit. These are the 6 website questions. Now, I do website audits for builders. And the 6 questions we kind of want to look at today, and we're going to dive into deeper, is it user-friendly, right? Does it contain the info your buyers want? Is the content gated? Is it easy to use on mobile devices? Are there calls to action, and who's manning, or in a lot of cases, woman-manning your website, right? With almost 100% of people beginning their search for a new home online, our websites have to reflect what they're looking for, because you only have a few seconds to capture their attention. So let's start with audits, right? Auditing your website and making sure that it's user-friendly is so important. And what happens is a lot of times the people who build the website don't really actually use it or see how buyers use it. My old friend Sarah Williams, who is big into technology, used to work for Lasso years ago, then for Inugo. She was so big in technology, she would say, you know, you can't tell someone their baby is ugly, which is their tech, right? You can't talk about how their baby is ugly. And a lot of times we see that websites may look beautiful on first glance, but we're really sacrificing usability for design. And so in the end, it really is an ugly baby because people can't find what they want and they're at a loss, and you only have a few seconds to really capture people. So I see this because often I'll work with companies, and I'll work with the marketing department who's designed the website, and they can't seem to see what's wrong with it until we shop it, and we bring in people who are actually shopping the website on mobile, on tablet, and on the desktop, and then they actually see how hard it is for people to find things. That's where we come into the next aspect of what you want to look at on your website, which is your website mobile accessible, right? Accessibility is so important. 89% of the people begin their search on a mobile device. So when we shop those websites and we do those mobile shops, we can often see the confusion from shoppers. These are video shops where we see them trying to find information on the cell phone, and they can't. A lot of times it's just not been maximized for mobile devices. You need a good blend of information, but you don't want long scrolling going on. So this information is so important in order to capture and keep your buyers engaged. The next important question you're asking yourself is, does it contain info that buyers want? So let's talk about this for a minute, because one of the biggest issues that's really kind of creating some backups, speed bumps, and crashes for buyers is the fact that when they go to a builder's website, they have a very difficult time figuring out what the pricing is. Pricing is one of those key pieces of information that people want to know right away. Is this going to be something I can afford? I see it so often where a builder will pick the lowest price house on the lowest price lot with no lot premium and put that as your starting price. And then you OSCs out there probably feel this pain point, right? Where you're trying to give information and people think, well, that should be in the low 200s, when in reality, once everything is priced out with everything, it probably comes in the mid 3s. So we really have to look at, are we giving the right information on our website? Are we doing that pricing? Another big area is maps, right? The maps need to show exactly where your communities are located, because area is such an important part of where people are shopping. We need to find out if we actually have what a home in the area they're looking for. That's what they're looking for. And floor plans. These can be buried sometimes 5 clicks deep. So we need to give people access to floor plans in the communities, and interactive floor plans. If anyone doesn't have interactive floor plans in this day and age and they're still just line drawings, you're missing out on opportunities to engage your buyers and give them what they want. They want to be able to play around, figure out what options you offer. Some of the interactive floor plans even allow you to put furniture placement in. These things are important. We see it when we survey buyers. We see it when shoppers shop websites. These are the things they want. Availability, virtual tours, photos, all of these things come into play when someone is shopping and having a great experience on your website. Now, the next thing in an audit that you would want to look at is the content gated? Now, I don't know if everybody knows what gated content is like, but back when I was an online sales counselor in 2007, 2008, in order to see those floor plans that we just said are so key to people being able to envision themselves in your homes, In order to see floor plans, people had to enter their information. That was gated. We're asking people to provide information before we are willing to give them information when content is gated. And it's crazy to look from 2007 all the way up to 2024, nearly 2025, and see that there's been a push over the last year or so for more companies to go back to gating their content. Now, gated content is different than having landing pages. It's different than asking for information once you've gained trust. There are different ways to do that. And that's where we move into the next step in our audit, which is, are there calls to action, right? So a call to action and then asking for information is different than gating content so people can't see it. So a call to action is something like, hey, make an appointment, speak with our online sales counselor, sign up for more information, save your favorites. This is one of my favorites. If you have interactive floor plans, if you have different content that your buyers can play around with, if you then, once they're engaged with your content, make it so that they can create an account and save it, that's a better way to gather information and allow and create a trust and build trust with them. And that's what we're all about as we're talking about our website and how we're dealing with this, is we're trying to create trust. Now, the next and last question that's really important is your website attended? And what do I mean by that? So is it attended? Is it a lead distribution center or a lead nurture center? And all the OSCs on here are probably saying, well, of course, it's a lead nurture center. But believe it or not, you know, in our last survey that we did, every year I do an online mystery shop survey with new home builders, about 50 builders across the country. And I do this in conjunction with Melinda Brody and Company and Denim Marketing. And every year we survey 50 builders, or we shop 50 builders for 30 days. And one of the things we look at is whether or not they have online sales counselors. And in year 4, this past year, we found that only 68% of builders had OSCs. And with that list of 50 comes off of the top 200 list and random builders that we choose. Just the year before, 80% of the builders we surveyed had OSCs. So it's not uncommon, even still today, that not every builder out there has an online sales program. And if you don't and you're scratching your head, we're going to get into that in a minute. I hope you know what it is by this point in time, but we will talk a little bit more in depth on that. But a lead distribution center, and I see it right now with someone I'm working with, where the VP of sales and marketing is the one that's getting all the leads. He's too busy to do anything with them. So when he can, he forwards them to his on-site sales agents. That's lead distribution. And that's where we come into that big question, that all-time important question, where do the leads go? You know, is your marketing department, who has a million different things on their plate, getting those leads and distributing them out to sales agents? Are your on-site sales agents, who are showing property and writing contracts and driving possibly between different communities, are they the ones that are getting the leads that are being generated from the websites and the phone calls and everything else? Are chatbots getting it? How quickly have you been able to break your own chatbot if you have a chatbot? Or are the online sales counselors getting it? Those online sales counselors play such an important role because their primary focus is to be that face and space, that face of the website, that first fast personalized responder, and really start that buyer's journey. So the OSCs that are on here are probably saying, duh, we know that. You know, when we talk about hunters versus gatherers, when you have a lead distribution system where the leads are going out, they're probably going out to your hunters, your sales agents. Those people are looking for what's the quickest thing that they can get under contract for themselves. Whereas online sales counselors in their trust building activities are there to really create relationships and nurture those leads and help them grow. And yes, we can get appointments set right away sometimes for people, but sometimes we can't. So it's really important to make sure that when we're setting up and creating trust with our buyers, we've got someone who can be responsive to them. This is so important in this day and age where we have a lot less leads. I know a lot of people have really seen a decrease over the last couple of years in their lead generation. And, we know some of that is because of high pricing, higher interest rates, uncertainty. There are a lot of factors that play into that. And so we need to be able to be there for the people who actually reach out to us. So, agents are going to stay engaged with the people that are easiest to close. That's that hunter mentality. But OSCs, if they're working their process and they're well trained and they have the right characteristics, are going to continue to nurture leads as they go. So that kind of brings us to our second promise, insights. You need to not only have insights personally into which buyers you encounter and what they're interested in, but this goes back to nurturing. But you also need to understand and stop making excuses on why follow-up is so important. Again, just kind of talking about the fact that lead levels have decreased over the last couple of years, yet I see some OSCs still calling it in, but not actually calling it in. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I've listened to a lot. I've actually done some mystery shops recently for a builder. We're going to keep those identities quiet, especially if they're on here, because I don't want to hurt any feelings. But what we see in our general 50 builder mystery shop, I'm seeing reflected as I come in and mystery shop builders teams and things like that. And so let's talk, though, I want to back up and talk a little bit about our home buyer demographics, because I think we make a lot of excuses. This is from the NAR report on buyer demographics. If you take a look at it, more than 50% of our buyers are over the age of 45. That's over the age of 45. Most people over the age of 45 will probably possibly engage on the phone when they're ready. But guess what? We even have the older millennials and the younger millennials that are also in the next demographic. And I've seen and read some studies saying that younger millennials will also at times pick up the phone. I don't know, 26 to 43, but they have to know who's there. So we're going to talk about connecting some of those phone calls. It's really important, though, to see that phone calls are still ranked number one. This is a report based on a survey of 1,800 businesses and 12,000 consumers who responded. And of course, this isn't the building industry. This is across all sorts of other industries, but it's a good indicator of how people utilize the phone still. I want to emphasize this because in the recent mystery shops of 4 OSCs, only one of those 4 OSCs picked up the phone on day one to make the phone call, okay? Of those, the rest and that same one, no phone calls in the entire 30 days. If you're an OSC and you're listening to this, did your heart just drop a little bit? Because this is such a missed opportunity. In this recent survey, where calls are still ranked number one, we see 41% of people will resolve customer issues by picking up the phone and making a call. Now, a customer issue could be someone who's already a customer, but a lot of people still will call for more information. Another important statistic on this is 35% of people scheduled appointments through the phone. So we need to look at that and see that phone calling is not dead. Okay, we need to stop saying nobody picks up their phone, because we have to use strategy to get people to answer their phones. And I'm going to go with one more bit of insight and information here. I know these are cold calling stats from 2024. We make warm calls, so our stats should be even better. And if you're not familiar with the difference between a cold call and a warm call, every single lead we get is someone who's inquired. That is warm. That is not a cold call. So if you look at this, based on my experience in industry, even though this is outside of our industry, It very much mirrors what I see on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis with OSCs. 44% of salespeople give up after one follow-up call, right? Hey, look, we just talked about OSCs that should all be doing follow-up calls. Only 25% of those OSCs actually made a call, even one, okay? Back in 2007, it took 3.68 cold call attempts to reach a prospect, okay? So 2007, when I was a brand new OSC, it took 3 to 4 calls to reach someone. In a 30-day time frame with sales processes, we usually schedule in about 4 phone calls. But now if you look at 2024, it takes 8 phone attempts to reach a prospect. So it's not that people won't respond, it's just that we need to be more persistent. And it's very important that we're persistent and consistent with everything that we do in order to really make the best of every lead we receive. Something else to look at is 74% of companies don't leave voicemails. So if you're making those phone calls, you've got to leave a voicemail. You've got to create next steps for people. And this is part of these insights and how you get people to engage by phone is when you make a phone call, you've got to leave a voicemail message. In that voicemail message, you've got to tell people you're going to send them a follow-up text. In that text message, you're going to say, I'm going to send you an email. You've got to create connection cohesively between all your follow-up so that people can understand that you actually are not a cold call, but something that they've inquired about. I don't know, has anybody ever answered the phone kind of annoyed and perturbed because it's a number that they don't know? And that person says to you on the other end of the line, hey, I'm just calling you back about your recent inquiry about our plumbing services, or this, or that. As soon as they tell you that you actually inquired and you actually connected to something you're looking for, their walls come down a little bit. That stress and anxiety they were feeling about answering a number they didn't know dissipates a little bit, and then you can create connection. So it's really important for you to start out that call not with, hi, is this Leah? Because that's annoying. Hi, this is Leah. I'm calling you about. That's what you want. You want to really help people understand why you're calling them and how you got their information, and that it wasn't just some random information scrape that you guys did. Now, the last thing on this slide, and we're going to talk about a little bit more later, is 85% of customers and sales reps are dissatisfied with phone experiences. And this leads us perfectly into insights into the 3 C's of online sales counselors. And these 3 C's should be able to be used across the board. If you don't have online sales counselors, you have on-site sales agents, and they're not using some of these skills and ability to identify with people over the phone before they ever even come in, then we're missing out on opportunities. The 3 C's, online sales counselors, OSCs, it's kind of a generic term. I bet you there's people on here that are ISPs and ISSs and all these different initials. But the root of this job really came from online sales counselors or online sales consultants or online sales concierges. And each of those terms has a little bit of a different facet that should be a combination of every skill set that we utilize to create an incredible customer experience. Being a consultant, you're consultative, you're asking open-ended questions, you're digging deeper into the why behind the why of what somebody is looking for. That's what a consultant does. They find out your pain points and help start finding solutions to those pain points. You need to be consultative if you're in this role, if you're the one receiving all the phone calls and all the emails and all the communication from the get-go, right? A counselor, someone who is basically figuring out those solutions, helping counsel you in what the next steps would be. A counselor can help you see the overall view of what you're talking about, what you need, and how it matches with what we've got. And then a concierge type service is someone who then facilitates the next steps, facilitates the appointment. So we need to kind of take all of these together to help be and drive that beginning of the buyer's journey. So now this leads us to high-level customer experience, right? The high-level customer experience that we're trying to create so that we can differentiate ourselves from all of our competitors. You know, somebody recently gave me a statistic about 90% or 85 to 90% of the homes in the country are sold by the top 5 builders in the country. That means the rest are sold by everybody else. We've got to be able to help differentiate ourselves from our competitors, and that starts with how we're engaging and creating a high level of customer service. We can't be order takers, okay? Back in when we talked about 85% of buyers and sales reps are dissatisfied with their phone interaction, it's really important for us to understand that we can do better. We need to understand how we get people, we say leads all the time, but these are humans, how we give them that great customer experience and build rapport. So when we talk about order taking versus rapport building, again, I'm going to go back to those 4 shops I recently heard. There were 2 online sales counselors that really on their phone shop were able to ask questions and dig deeper. They weren't perfect, but they did a good job. They didn't just ask those basics. What is your price range? What is your time frame? Do you want to set an appointment? We have a lot of people that are driving for an appointment before they even have earned the trust and earned that appointment. And you hear it all the time. If you're like me and you get to listen to these calls, we've got to first meet people where they are when they come to us. And if they're unsure of where to start the conversation, we need to have our own icebreakers set up, right? We need to be able to learn how to build that rapport so that you can understand those wants. And so this really kind of leads me into wants versus needs. You know, with those wants versus needs, you don't have to have a rigid path of questions that you're asking, but you do have to have open-ended questions and ideas of how to get people talking to you and bringing down their walls. And a lot of times we'll hear, and this is as we get into objections, a lot of times we'll hear that people want something, but it doesn't sound like it will fit the budget they've given us. So we need to overcome that mindset of rejection and really start coming up with options and solutions. So you have to listen to what they're telling you and find out what's important to them. You need to ask the questions of what things are deal breakers for them, how far can they push their budget to get the things they want, so that you can then give them all the options and solutions. But you don't want to be overwhelming, right? Also, we sometimes hear people information overload. You've really got to ask the questions and then sit back and listen. You've got to figure out what more about that human condition and what makes them tick. So the only way you can help them truly set strong appointments is to move them further along the road toward that dream by finding out what really matters to them. And if you've gotten off a phone call and you have no idea what mattered to them, but you set an appointment, that's not usually a strong appointment for your on-site sales agents. Okay, I know for anybody who's been here for, say, been an OSC for 4 or 5 years or more, during COVID, you could throw anything at the wall to see if it sticks. In the last couple of years, that's not the case. And what you're doing is you're creating frustrating appointments for your sales agents because you're trying to keep your numbers up, but it's more important for you to create quality over quantity. So it's important to overcome that mindset of objection. I feel like a lot of people ask for that appointment right up front because they want to get that like out of the way. Can I get you out there? And then it does sound like that order taker. Great. Tell me more about what your price range is. All of that should come before asking for the appointment. All of the questions and rapport building should come before you ask for the appointment. Look, it doesn't mean you need to have like a 25-minute call with every single prospect that you're talking to on the phone. A lot of this can be built quickly when you ask the right questions and move forward, but it's not likely going to be built in 2 to 4 minutes. I want to move into, and I'm glad we're moving at a fairly quick clip for myself. I want to move into an objections exercise, and this is where I want some audience engagement. So hopefully you guys are still awake and you're out there. I want to do, because we're going to talk about some phrases that pay and how to overcome objections. So Corey, hopefully you're still listening, and I want you to give me the objections you hear the most.
Okay.
Corey, are you seeing any?
I don't see anything yet.
Okay,
But
type in the comments or type in the questions some of the objections that you get the most, and let's work on how we really overcome that mindset of rejection and come up with options and solutions for those objections. And if you guys don't participate or you're all asleep, I have some ideas of things we can talk about, but
yeah.
anything out there?
Interest rates are too high, Lauren says.
Interest rates are too high. Well, you know, this is again where you as an online sales counselor really need to know historical numbers. You need to have knowledge, a knowledge base where you can look historically at what has been out there, and you can talk about things. And you should also know like what's coming down the pike. It's great to listen to some of what the economists are saying about interest rates coming down, because look, when interest rates are low, yes, you can buy more house for your money. But look, you know, I know you're waiting for the interest rates to come down, but right now, pricing is in a place where if interest rates were to come down, pricing would likely go up. You're not going to see a big difference. And a lot of realtors like to say this, and there's probably some realtors on here, you know, date the rate, marry the house, right? You have to give people a better understanding of how they can refinance down the road when the rates come down, that getting into a home now in the area where they want is important. And part of that is that you've already had an idea of what is their motivating factor for moving. You know, if somebody's motivating factor for moving is to be closer to their kids who are having babies, right? Say it's an older couple moving closer to their daughter who's about to have their first child. How long are you willing to wait to live closer to your grandchild? And if you're looking in a certain area, what is it about that area that if you're not building there down the road that you'd be open to? So you've really got to explore these different motivating factors and understand why they're moving, so that when someone gives you an objection like, well, the rates are too high, you can go back to their actual underlying reason for moving and talk about how long are you willing to wait to see if those rates readjust in order to get into a home so close to help your daughter when she gives birth to that baby, right? I mean, this is just one idea, one scenario, but that's important that you know what their motivating factor is so you can really offset what that rate objection is.
We have a couple more for you if you want more.
Sure, why not? We've got some time.
I know we have, let's see, I'm just window shopping. I do not want to waste your time if I'm not going to qualify. That one's by Nicole.
Oh, I like that. I'm just window shopping. I don't want to waste your time if I'm not going to qualify. Well, great. You know, that's okay. Let's talk a little bit more about where you are price-wise, right? So first you need to find out where they are price-wise, and then you need to find out how they came to that price. Is that just something that feels comfortable to you? Or have you actually spoken with a loan officer about what you can qualify for, right? So this is the other thing, because I will tell you, and anyone who's ever trained with me knows this, is that every home I've ever bought, and I've bought a lot of houses because my husband is retired military and we've moved from place to place, where we wanted to be price range ended up the house we bought was anywhere from 25 to 50,000 or more over, or even I think in Denver it was more than 100,000 more than what I wanted to spend. So you all have to be very cognizant of the fact that the numbers people give you on first blush are not necessarily numbers that are final, set in stone, and you've got to figure out how they're coming to that price. So if they're saying, I don't want to waste your time, I'm just window shopping, I don't know if I can qualify, great, tell me more about what you've already done to figure out what price range you want to be in. You're just window shopping? If you were going to actually move forward from window shopping to shopping, what would your time frame be? What's motivating you to even be window shopping for a house, right? So these are all questions and phrases and things that you guys can use to really try to dig deeper into why. Because if somebody's calling you or you're getting them on the phone because they submitted a form, there's something going on there. They're more than just window shopping. And if they're walking into your model, if the person asking this question is actually an on-site agent and a model, they for sure, if you've ever listened to Ryan Taft talk about Story Getter, he says, nobody just says, hey, I'm gonna go hang out at a model home on the weekend, right? So it's very important to understand that if you have someone in front of you that's willing to talk to you, either on the phone, through an email, they're responsive, or even in front of your face in a model, there's ways for you to tease out that information and create rapport with them. Okay, so any others, Corey?
Yes, we are getting a lot of them. So
this is the fun part of the webinar, right? This is the interactive part. So
yeah. We have, do you want me to read them all to you and then you pick which one you want to go?
You pick one or two. Just pick one and I'll do whatever one you pick. I like being on the fly like this because in 18 years, I've heard pretty much everything. I think in 18 years, I could probably come up with with overcoming an objection off the top of my head. And if you stump me, I'll buy you coffee.
Okay, let's see. I like other builders offer more incentives.
Ooh, the incentives question. Other builders offer more incentives. So great, thank you for telling me that, Jenny. What kind of incentives are you looking for? What's really catching your eye from other builders? You need to find out, first off, you need to know what's important to them. You need to know why those incentives are important. And when they're offering more, are they offering more money, more options? What are they doing? If you, as an online sales counselor or someone who's hearing that a lot, you can bring that information back to your leadership on, hey, you know, I know we're offering a gourmet kitchen package, right? Or something like that, but I keep hearing people wanting closing costs. Can we repurpose that? Can we do a rate buy down? Like first you need to know what's actually doable. And look, online sales counselors, you should never be using your incentives to sell or to sell an appointment. But what you should be doing is gaining better understanding of what's motivating that buyer and what's important to them, and then repurposing it towards, you know, this is a great thing for you to talk to with Jenny on site because she's going to be the one that can help you figure out the best way to utilize it. And if they say, oh, but monetarily, there's more incentives over there, you've got to ask, but are we comparing apples to apples? What's the pricing they're looking at versus the pricing they're looking at with you? Does what you have to offer fall into what they're looking for? And if they're still talking to you because you don't, even though you don't have the same incentive packages advertised that somebody down the road does, there's something that they're not happy with down there or they wouldn't be talking to you. So it's really important for you to find out, well, tell me more about the differences between that community that you're looking at and this one. What do you like about us? What's better if you were to take the incentives out of the equation? What do you feel is better over there? These are the kinds of things that you need to take time to dig deeper in to get to understand who that buyer is so that you can create that great customer experience. Okay, I think I got that one. What's next, Corey? We'll do another one.
Perfect. Okay, let's see. Let's see. I need to speak with my spouse first.
Oh yeah, there's the objection. One of the main objections you get for an appointment, right? Oh, because you've gone through and you've tried to do everything, and that person says, oh, I need to speak to my spouse before I set an appointment, right? That's a classic. And really the option there is, I completely understand that. What do you think would work best for them, weekdays or weekends? Just say, find out quantitatively what would work better, and then say what we can do in order to make sure we have some time blocked out for you, because your time is important and Jenny's schedule is filling up quickly. Let's go ahead and set a tentative appointment when your husband is available or your spouse is available. And then if that doesn't work for you, once you speak with them, just let me know, right? You've really got to overcome that, and you've got to create the value though of that appointment. Another one that's really famous, besides the, well, can't we just drive through the community? That's after the spouse one, right? Can't we just drive through the community? Look, the odds are you're going to drive through and there's going to be something that you'd really like to see or talk to. And I want to make sure, because our agents have a tight schedule, they have appointments. I would hate for you to waste your time driving out there and then not get the answers that you need once you decide you have some questions. So when we can set a dedicated time for you and your spouse, then you will be the focus of our on-site sales expert, Jenny. And look, we're going to talk about handoff in a minute. You've got to use the person's name. You have to start creating value of that person that they're going to go see, and why it's valuable for them to spend time with your on-site salespeople instead of just driving through the community. So I kind of picked 2 objections for appointments there. I'm gonna move forward. I'm sure there's more. And look, if there are questions that you have and you haven't gotten them answered, you can always send me an email after this. We can talk through some of the biggest, hardest ones you have, but it's really important for you guys to run through these objections that you get for pricing, time frame, area, all of these things, and have answers. I'm not a huge fan of scripts. Okay, I don't believe in scripting, but I believe in what I call a scripting book. And a scripting book is where, when you know what questions you get all the time, you figure out, okay, what answer am I going to give, and what's my follow-on question going to be to continue to facilitate this discussion. Okay, when you can script this out for yourself, not some canned script somebody gives you, then it's going to be in your own words. It's going to feel comfortable to you, and it's going to become part of your rapport building and part of your repertoire of ways you talk to people. So that's that objections exercise. I hope we had some fun with that. Once you can overcome those objections, you can get a clearer path to that appointment. I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, is that you can't ask for that appointment as soon as, hi, this is your typical conversation. Someone calls up and says, hey, I wanted more information about 123 Magnolia Way. Great. Would you like to go out and see it? I hear that all the time. Or what would you like to know about it? 2 seconds, don't dig deeper. Oh, would you like to set up an appointment? Look, we have not earned the appointment until we know their motivations, okay? Until we know why they're interested in this. Because when we can earn that and know that, we can set a much stronger appointment for our on-site sales agents and best utilize their time, so they can have a shorter time from appointment to close and get more done. That helps the company, it helps the sales agent, it helps the OSC, but overall it helps the prospect, it helps the prospective home buyer. So that's really important. So we need to create, once we get all that information and build rapport, then we have a clear path to really ask for the appointment. And when you have people pushing back on appointment, I will challenge you to ask yourself, did I do enough discovery to find out what they really wanted and what really motivated them in order to earn that appointment? So, of course, that brings us to our favorite subject in the online sales counsel world, which is handoff. And like I said, in that handoff, you have got to have already been building that bridge between you and the on-site sales agent. You've got to build a bridge that's lasting and able to be so they know the name of that person, they know who they're meeting with. There's an expectation set that we will be sad if you don't show up. Okay, percentage of appointments set to appointment show should be 90, 95%, 97% of appointment to show. If you're an online sales counselor, if you're a manager, anything, if you're seeing appointment to show ratios under 90%, because look, things happen. Some people don't show up. But if it's under 90%, something's going on. Something's going on in that handoff or that qualification. On the OSC side, it could be qualification. OSC and onsite agent, it could be handoff. Okay, we need to make sure that everybody's in communication, which brings me to where the work really begins, right? It really begins, we have to make sure we get back into creating those bridges, creating great communication, not just with our prospects, but with our on-site agents, okay? There's no such thing as over communicating with your on-site sales. You really got to get back into nurturing mode. You know, you have to really take the time to find out what people's pain points are. And we need to create a path of least resistance for our buyers. So you need to fulfill your promises. When you say, hey, I want to set a VIP appointment for you so that you have dedicated time with your on-site sales agent, that process needs to translate on-site. Your on-site sales agents need to treat that person like gold that's coming through their door. They need to be fully focused. If they have 3 people walking through the door at the same time as the scheduled appointment, they've got to tell the other 2, hey, I'm sorry, you know, I have an appointment set up. You're more than welcome to walk the model. Please put your information down here, and I'd love to set something up with you. But you cannot, as an on-site sales agent, prioritize someone because we aren't fulfilling our promises if we don't prioritize that appointment. That's something where the online sales counselor has already built that rapport and that relationship, and we can't break that trust. So it's really important, and this is all falls into creating that stellar experience. You guys have to use your tools and processes, you know, all the way back to the beginning when we were talking about automation and AI and all of that stuff. If you're still doing things manually 100% of the time, if you're keeping things on spreadsheets and Post-it notes and things like that, if it's not shared in a place like a CRM where everyone can see, you're really doing everyone a disservice, because what that means is that the sales agent isn't going to know everything the OSC asked, and they're going to start from scratch. And we never want people to start from the beginning again, because it's frustrating as a prospect, as a customer, to repeat yourself if you've already given all of this information. So once that appointment happens, we need to get back into lead nurture mode and create happy buyers, because they're going to generate referrals for us. Even the people who don't buy but had a wonderful experience with our company, they're going to refer to you as well. So that kind of brings us to what I would say is my wrap up, which I hope that in this quick hour, I was able to help you learn a little bit more about how to start building trust with your buyers. And remember, it starts with your brand, it starts with your company culture, and it's translated onto your website, and how you create a user-friendly environment for your website. We talked about some of the insights onto what your buyers may need for communication. And it's apparent that as much as we'd like to say phone calls are not important anymore, and we see it more and more of our surveys, like our mystery shops year over year, the big reports I do with Denim Marketing and Melinda Brody and Company, more and more OSCs are not making those phone calls. And it's sad, as more builders get OSCs, less of them are doing the processes they were hired to do. I see it all the time. We need to get back to basics and make those phone calls. They are important. People will answer the phone. It may take more persistent, consistent communication. So really think about those insights, really think about how people want to be communicated with and how you're going to dig deeper and learn about what's really important to them once you do get them on the phone or you do get them communicating to you. And finally, that high level of experience. What are you going to do that's going to set yourself above those top 5 or 6 builders out there that are getting most of the sales? How are you going to create a stellar experience that translates between you and your on-site sales agents? So we did it. We have a few minutes left, so I want to open it up to any questions that you may have above and beyond our exercise, above and beyond all of that. I hope that was helpful for you and you've got some good takeaways to take back to your desk today. Any thoughts, any questions? Corey, let me know if you see any other questions that people are throwing out there.
I will definitely let you know. I don't see anything new right now, but I do want to remind everyone you'll get a survey. And oh, it says there's one question from Lauren.
Yeah.
Okay, Lauren, type your question. Let us know what we can do to help.
Yeah. So
do you have a simple follow-up plan for leads?
A simple follow-up plan for leads.
Oh, so no, not simple, sorry, sample. Sorry,
a sample. A simple follow-up process for leads. Sure, you can reach out to me and we can talk more about what you have. The thing is this is what I would say is you're going to have general follow-up plans. Your goal is to get people to engage with you. Your follow-up plans should consist of a mix of different touch points. You're going to need phone calls, text messages. You need to get permission to text, but phone calls, text messages, emails, and video emails. You have to have a variety of options for people to be able to engage with you, because what may speak to one buyer may not speak to another. So your simple follow-up plan should have that. You should be following up at least 8 to 12 touch points within the first 30 days of follow-up. And guess what? Beyond that, you have to continue that follow-up. You should have, people are taking longer to decide on a home now than they were a couple of years ago. So leads that come in now may not buy for a year to 2 years. You've got to have a consistent way to touch these people. It doesn't mean you're bugging them every day or every week, but you should have quarterly phone calls, quarterly personalized emails. You need personalized and marketing emails in there, all sorts of things. And the cadence varies for people, but there should be 8 to 12 in there. And that's just your general trying to get people to engage with you. Once they engage with you, you're going to have to probably take them off a general follow-up and customize that a little bit more to what you know about them. So again, if you have detailed questions, or I'm more than happy to speak with people. You can see my contact information up here to kind of talk through that.
Yes, Leah is super accessible. Anytime I've wanted to talk to her before, like we started doing webinars or things like this, she's always on LinkedIn, Facebook. I mean, she answers all the questions people ask her. She's amazing. So just as a reminder, everyone will get a copy of this by tomorrow in their inbox. It normally takes like a day to get the recording process, and then it'll be sent out, and then everyone will get a survey too. So let us know what we can do to help. Leah, anything else before we close out?
No, just it's been great. Thank you so much for coming out to listen. I hope I provided some good insights for you all. And this was a fun course to do. I hope to hear from anybody who has questions. I'm always here as a resource.
Yes, thank you so much for your time, Leah. We super appreciate it, and I'm sure people loved hearing from you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.